Considering swapping out to grass-fed beef or free-range chicken?
Not really,
Okay.
to be honest. And why don't we explain why?
Okay, welcome to Talking with Docs of Dr. Brad Weening.
I'm Dr. Paul Zalzal.
Right off the gate, leave a comment if you believe in this, don't believe in this, have any thoughts about it, heard about it, think it's interesting, whatever. So
Looks good on a menu.
it does. Oh yeah, we got the grass-fed.
We got free rangers here.
Yes. Where the
Okay. Let's break it down. What does that even mean to have a grass-fed or free range?
Okay,
meal?
so we'll start with beef. So grass-fed beef are different than the concentrated animal feeding operations, the CAFO, the big agriculture that feeds cows mostly corn and a lot of cereal, ironically. So oats, barley, a bunch of other cereals in order to gain weight quickly. Often they'll supplement with like soy protein and other things.
Yeah.
Not to mention maybe some antibiotics to treat or prevent disease, plus almost certainly in North America, some estrogen and testosterone if you're not organic.
But they're fairly regulated though, the antibiotic use and the
Not
steroid
for
use.
beef, a lot less.
Yeah.
I'd say almost all cows in these big organizations in North America are getting them,
Okay.
unless you're organic. So that's the first side. So that's the CAFO side. So the grass-fed side is the thought being, well, cows can go out into a field,
Yeah.
they can go into pasture land, they can graze,
Why not?
and that their muscle is different, the way that it's marbleized is a little bit different, and that it's better for you.
And so at the end of the day, the steak that you're eating comes
Yes.
out supposedly tasting better and being healthier for you.
Right, so let's talk about the proposed health benefits of grass-fed beef. And people feel very strongly about this. If you go online, people are like, no way, it has to be this.
Right.
So one of the proposed benefits is that it has slightly lower saturated fat content.
Fair.
I think that's true. It's a small reduction, but we know that saturated fat is not good for us, so any reduction is probably worth considering.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two is
Omega-3.
Omega-3s.
Increased omega-3.
we know omega-3s are good for us.
Everybody loves omega-3s.
Right, so
It's a very small amount though.
it is
again.
a very small amount, increasing it in the 10 to like 100 kind of gram range, whereas say a piece of fish has like 1,000 to 2,000. So it's like
Yeah.
almost exponentially different. So yes, true, you might get some more omega-3s because of what they're eating, but probably not moving the needle. And if this is your source of omega-3s, you're probably falling short.
And you don't see a lot of grass-fed fish.
You don't. No, you don't. You don't really see the grass-fed fish. Okay, and then number three is vitamin E. So vitamin E is an antioxidant. It's important for aging and reducing the stressful process within our body. However, most of us that eat a diverse diet, we probably do not actually suffer from vitamin E deficiency issues. But yes, grass-fed beef have been measured and tested and shown to have slightly more vitamin E.
Okay. And now some of the issues with it.
Yeah, so
My biggest beef
I see what you did there.
is
Okay.
the cost. It
Okay.
costs so much more.
So it does cost a lot more. So if cost was not an issue at all, you could say, yeah, you know what, it's maybe a hint healthier. If there's both there and you don't have to pay for either and there's no consequence, I would say probably grass-fed makes sense. But we're talking like 50% to sometimes even double the cost.
Yeah, and for
a
me
lot.
that's a deal breaker.
Yeah, you're like, you know what, times are tough. Like
Yeah.
some people are like, meat alone is expensive, let alone get the grass-fed fancy beef. So that's the first one. The second one is a lot of people would say, well, you know what, I like grass-fed because it's good for the environment.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, so the thought being that the average grass-fed cow requires 1 to 2 acres of pasture land.
Yeah.
The people that are pro grass-fed would say, well, you know what, that's pasture land that is not suitable for farming. So I think if that was true, that all grass-fed beef were grown on areas where definitely other crops could not be grown, that makes sense. It was useless land before.
Yeah.
Let's put some cows there. But really what's more commonly happening is actually those are fields that could be used for other stuff.
Like a golf course.
Well, yes, or for soybeans or corn or other plants that actually would be able to grow more protein per acre than the cattle themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the second thing is we probably have to talk about greenhouse gases. I know some people don't believe in greenhouse gases or global warming or whatever, but a couple things. A, those cows are on the earth a lot longer. So a grass-fed cow to be finished or ready for slaughter takes 20 to 24 months, whereas a traditional breeding and feeding of a cow takes in the 14 to 16 or even 18 months. So they're on the earth longer.
So more methane gas is
methane
produced,
gas.
and methane gas is a greenhouse gas that
Right.
damages the ozone layer that is protecting our environment.
Right, so that's kind of the argument against the environmental factor. Obviously, the cow still dies either way, so if it's an ethical thing, it doesn't change the fact that the cow still dies.
Yeah.
It did have maybe a nicer life,
Sure.
where the deer and the antelope.
Play.
Yeah. But the other thing with respect to beef, the same rules would probably apply to grass-fed butter and grass-fed milk. People are very passionate about this, and if you are, that's great. We just were presenting the facts. You do whatever you like as far as your beef, your butter, and your milk.
And your wallet.
And your wallet. Okay, let's go over to the free range. There's no free range cattle, but the free range equivalent of cattle in the chicken side is the free range chicken.
Yeah, the equivalent of the grass-fed cow.
So what do they do? What's a free range chicken do?
They get to freely range. They're not cooped up.
They're
as
not
much
in
in
the
the
coop.
right? They're
Yeah.
not cooped. They're free to range.
So for me, that's nice. That's humane.
Sure. I mean, who doesn't like to see chickens running around a coop?
Right. They still don't get to live. Like they still have the same fate, but they just have a
Eventually.
better life and more humane growing conditions while they're alive.
Right.
Okay. So what are the thoughts about what can free range and going foraging for plants and other things out there?
We'll have better muscles.
They do. They have more muscle. They actually have more muscle, and that muscle is a little bit stronger. Interestingly.
Yeah, fair.
And some people would say tougher.
Yeah. Yeah, so when you're eating the chicken, you may notice a difference. If it is a free range, it's tougher.
And some people like
chew.
that.
Some people do.
Some people like that. Okay, what about the eggs?
So the eggs coming from the chicken, then the
Yes.
thinking is if they're free range and they're healthier, better muscles, then the eggs are going to be better. But at the end of the day,
Yes.
is my omelet going to taste any different if it was free range?
So some people say there are some subtle taste differences, but
I don't think so.
Yeah, I would agree. But as far as the vitamin 3 and omega-3 content, vitamin E, and omega-3 content, just like on the beef side, this has been slightly elevated. Again, probably too small to really move the needle on a health perspective, but the egg white itself stays totally unchanged. That protein is not altered by free ranging.
Right.
And again, more expensive.
Right. I was just going to say, so the main difference is going to be the price again. You're going to be paying a lot more for free range eggs than non.
Yeah, I think I saw eggs around between $4 and $5, and free range were like up to $10 a dozen.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money for eggs. And in a time when finances are very, very tight and food insecurity is an issue, you're probably going no range.
No.
You're going coop chicken.
Yeah, maybe the coop.
You got any coop chicken eggs?
Yeah, the cheaper ones.
Yeah.
So cost is a big issue.
Yep.
And so in my opinion, the benefit of the free range, from what I've read, does not outweigh the cost, personally.
Like financial cost.
Yeah.
And I'd say it's not necessarily good for the environment. Some people, just back to the beef side, would say that biodiversity of the fields is actually good because the cows, they poop in the field, and then that can restore the soil. So I think that's a reasonable argument, but I think the amount of that is outweighed by the.
Consider the Wagyu beef. Like that is an extreme case of a
We should do a whole video on Wagyu.
A grain-fed animal, right?
Yeah.
And that's like way more expensive all of a sudden just because they get like massaged and stuff.
Yeah, more marbling and stuff.
Yeah, right. And that is.
And actually, that's why they give them estrogen. Actually, is for the marbling.
Yeah.
They give testosterone for the muscle growth, and the estrogen and progesterone for the marbling.
This cow's on the pill.
It's very interesting. Please leave a comment, and at the end of the day, no judge, no hate. You know, don't get angry in the comments either way.
These are just some facts that we found, and our personal preference would be personally not to spend that extra money for that. However, there is something called the health halo effect, which is the equivalent of the placebo effect of medication. So if you know this is grass-fed or you know this is free range, and you paid a little bit more for it, then to you it's going to taste better. And you're going to feel better because you think it's better for the environment.
And that might be worth something.
That effect might be worth something right there.
At the end of the day, we feel, though, responsible to help get information to you about the food industry because they're not always completely transparent.
Stop.
I know.
Big food industry is not transparent.
Not totally transparent. So we just want you to have the tools to make an informed decision for yourself, just like all the stuff we talk about. It is ultimately always your choice. If you like this video, please like it, subscribe to our channel, share a comment about your experience with the grass-fed and the free range.
Or if you feel like a free-range chicken, or if you feel cooped up. And remember, you are in charge of your own health.
We'll see you next time.